What's going on YouTube? It is Texans Takeover back in another video. In today's video, I have a video talking about prospects I would like for the Texans to look at in the draft and why. This is part one of this video. There's going to be a lot more players added to this thread. As you can see, I'll show you every single player right now, but we'll go down to the bottom. There's only 8 that I'm touching on today, um, but obviously next video is going to be another 8, and then 8 after that, and then I think we'll get to around the 64 player mark, and then that's where I'll stop. So about 8 episodes of this, I guess mini series you could call it. I don't know why Lulu's trending. I don't know why the 17th Amendment is trending. But this is my Twitter right here. So if you want to go see these tweets that I'm showing you today, you can definitely go check it out. But yeah, this is a thread of prospects I would like for the Texans to look at in the draft and why. Posted this to Texans Twitter, the community group, and yeah, these are the first 8 that I decided to post about. Obviously, there's going to be more, and some more that I think are better fits than these 8, but these are just the first 8 I decided to talk about. Starting out with Olavega Ione here from Penn State. I said a 6'4", 323-pound guard that is dominant in both the pass game and the run game. May go in the top half of the draft and require a trade up, but he's a dominant player. He may be the best O lineman in this class. One of the true guys listed as a guard, not a tackle that can play guard, just dominant in the run game, dominant in the pass game. I'd say a significantly better pass blocker than a run blocker, but even then, he's still very good in the run game. As you can see here with a couple clips of Olavega Ione there, graded out very well. PFF had him at an 80.0. And then an 87.0 pass block grade, 78.6 run block grade. I'd expect him to slot in at left guard, and this would be a pick I'd definitely consider if you want to move Titus out to right tackle. But as I said, it would require a trade up, so it likely mean 28 and 38 may have to go, or 28, 58, and 69 may have to go to trade up to get Olave Ione, because I've seen him go as high as 14 and may even go top 10 in this class if a team really values guard that much. But I think he'll end up in the mid first round. From that 12 to 19 range, but a really, really good guard. He's going to require a trade up. I think it'll be a package of, 28, 58, and maybe if it's a team like the Dolphins who may want a quarterback or something like that, you could throw in Davis Mills in the pitch and maybe be able to move up that way. Um, but a really, really good offensive lineman, may be the best offensive lineman in this class. I think it's an argument between him and Noah, whoever you want your top guy to be, that does end up being the best offensive lineman in this class. But I really like Olavega on his game. I think he'd be a plug and play starter in Houston. And I just really love the player. I really love the fit. It's not the most feasible out of all the options we could talk about, because it would require a trade up, and we know Nick Casario does not like to draft in the back half of the first round. Hasn't done it once. Traded out of it in 2024. Traded out of it in this past draft as well. So who's to say he won't trade up or trade down? It's yet to be seen, but I do really like Olavega Ione as a fit. I hope the Texans really like his game. I know they're at the Senior Bowl. Casario and Cole Popovich are there, so maybe they're looking at some guys, which we'll talk about later on. But here at number 2, we have the guy that we were mocked to by Daniel Jeremiah. I actually really like the fit here, and that is Marner Freeling out of Georgia. He's a 6'7", 315-pound tackle that can play true tackle in the NFL. He played left tackle at UGA, Georgia, and would switch to right tackle in Houston. I believe Ariante Urseries rightfully deserved that left tackle spot after his performances of last season, but dominant in pass protection, has work to do in the run game, and seems to be a late first to an early second-round pick. Obviously, Daniel Jeremiah did have him mocked to Houston at 28 in his last mock draft. Bucky Brooks had him, I think, at 27 in his mock draft. But yeah, really dominant in the pass game. Needs to develop as a run blocker, but he's a true junior, so he's young as a tackle. I think the Texans will take that in terms of you're going to be able to develop the tackle into what you want him to be. Maybe some early growing struggles, so maybe you shy away from that pick originally because you do want a tackle that's going to be coming in pretty polished and ready to go on a run with the Super Bowl roster. But I really like the player that Marner Freeling is. This is his Mississippi State tape here. Athletic, agile, can get to his spots, drive you back as soon as he gets his hands on you. Just a really quick guy at that tackle position. I think shows the athleticism that the Texans would like to have from any offensive line spot. And I think he's a true tackle that would slot in and be a very solid Trent Brown replacement if we're not able to replace Trent Brown in free agency. So I just love the fit overall. He's a top, I'd say, 25 player in this class overall. But not really many people are talking about Martin Freeling as this solidified first round pick. I think he'll end up being in the first round. And yeah, I think I'd be glad if the Texans were able to get him at pick number 28 because I think that shows, a good um, commitment to the offensive line in the draft if we were able to go out and get Monroe Freeling and then maybe a Pregnon in the second round if you don't want to trade up for an Olave Ione. So, yeah, number 2 is Monroe Freeling that I'm talking about today. I think he's going to play right tackle for us instead of left tackle like he played at Georgia. But again, a really good player with really good tape. I just think he's a little bit raw, so has some time to develop. But again, a true junior, so he's a younger guy. And I think will develop into an ideal tackle for the Texans if we were to select him at pick number 28. Moving on to number 3, we got another offensive lineman that I actually just touched on, Emmanuel Pregnon out of Oregon. He's a 6'5", 318-pound guard who played at Wyoming and USC and then shined at Oregon this year. Older as a redshirt senior, but would be a plug-and-play starter, I believe, at that left guard or right guard position wherever you want to play him. He's number 75 in the video. I know it doesn't really highlight him, but he does line up at left guard pretty consistently in this video. Solid base, great in the pass and run games, likely a second rounder and a safe one. What I mean by a safe one, he's going to be a plug and play starter and be at least average as an offensive lineman. Pretty solid grade out, pretty well, be pretty consistent, not really show too many um, negative flashes. He'll show positive flashes, just not really many negative ones. Graded out superbly this year with an 88.2 overall PFF grade, 88.0 pass block grade, and an 88.3 run block grade. So the average of those two is an 88.2 overall. Great in the gap scheme, great in the zone scheme. I know Noah Whittington loved the zone scheme compared to the gap scheme, but I think he'd be a great offensive lineman to come in here. Kaylee loves his gap and zone scheme, so whatever back we do get in this draft or in free agency, he's going to have to learn how to do both. Luckily enough for Pregnon, he knows how to block both very well, and he's very good in the pass game too. Just a very solid base, really gets on you quickly, and has powerful hands. You look at these hands right here. As soon as he gets on you, he's just exploding through you. And driving you back. That's Rayshon Benny, who's going to be selected and having a great Senior Bowl right there that he just drives back. Really, really good player. Really excited about where he goes because I think he's a great fit wherever he does go. I think the Chargers could be great for Pregnon. And I would even consider Pregnon at 28 to the Texans. I wouldn't be mad at that pick there, but if he does start to fall a little bit, we haven't really heard any first-round hype from Pregnon from, the guys doing the mocks. Maybe he's there at 38 for us to go select him, or we can trade from 38 to like the top of the second round to go select him. Yet to be seen, but I really like the player. I would really like the fit of Emmanuel Pregnon in Houston to play left guard, especially if you're planning on kicking Titus back out to right tackle. I think Pregnon can be that guy that slots in and becomes your plug and play starter. So it could look like Ursary Pregnon, maybe Cade Mays, if you're looking for a center there. And then Ed Ingram coming back and then Titus at right tackle. I think that's a very decent offensive line, especially with how good Ed Ingram looked down the stretch of last season. Moving on to number 4, we got Mr. Christian Miller out of Georgia. 2 Georgia players in the top 4 so far. He's a 6'4", 310-pound D tackle. Played in 14 games for the Bulldogs this year, lining up predominantly over the B gap. Had 298 snaps there. Over the A, I think it was like 143 or something like that. A great run defender who plugs his gap consistently, would be a plug-and-play starter. You can see the disparities between the pass rush grade and the run defense grade at a 90.2 for the run defense grade, a 70.0 for the pass rush grade, and an 84.5 overall grade. Just a really, really good player, really good interior threat. One of my favorites in this class. I really like Christian Miller in potentially the second round if we're looking to the interior of the defensive line early on, because that is kind of a need. Caleb Banks could be a first-round pick to the Texans. I've seen that mocked by Bucky Brooks, and I would love that fit. I'm talking about him later on in this video, and has had a great Senior Bowl. But if it's not Caleb Banks, I'd love Christian Miller to come here. I think those are the 2 that I like best. Obviously, if Peter Woods somehow falls, maybe that's a question for selection there in the second round. But in the first, I'd like to address the offensive line. And then maybe in the second, this is where you go defensive line. And I think this could definitely be a Christian Miller spot. Just a really, really good run defender who fills up his gaps really well, especially when starting from the B and slanting over to the A, or starting from the A slanting over to the B. He's very good at those slants, which Texans don't really. They run a lot of overload. They don't really run a lot of slants per se. It's a lot of overload, which you just see right here, which he's doing, and just got pressure on the quarterback to allow Will Anderson or Daniil Hunter to have a one-on-one and get after the quarterback. That was actually really perfect timing for the overload to come. But you can see traditional 4-down front at Georgia, so he fit right in at Houston. A lot of our D linemen play right over the B gap. So yeah, a D tackle that I think could definitely come in and do a very solid job year one and throughout the rest of his career. And we know Nick Casario loves to draft some Bulldogs in there, so maybe Christian Miller is a pick in the second round to play alongside Tommy Togiai on the defensive line. Moving on to number 5, though, this is Mr. Dylan Tinneman out of Oregon. This is another top 25 player in this class for me that is being mocked in the second round. I'd love to get him at 38 if we are able to, but um, he's a 6 foot, 205-pound safety who's great for Purdue before transferring to Oregon. Versatile safety that has good ball hawk skills and physicality in the run game. He's the most well-rounded safety in this draft, not named Caleb Downs, in my opinion. I like the idea of Cole Wisniewski later in the draft, too, if that intrigues anyone. I think Emmanuel McNeil Warren's a very good safety, might be another top 25 player in this class. Um, AJ Halsey's decent, too. I think he's starting to fall a little bit compared to Tinneman and McNeil Warren. I don't know why, but um, Halsey's a very physical um, defensive back. I just prefer Tatum over him, to be honest. You can see the grades: 91.0 overall grade, a 91.1 coverage grade, and a 75.9 run defense grade. So very physical safety, very versatile safety. He can play in the box, he can play over the top, can play single high, can play double high, a ball hawk at the position. And then is not afraid to come downhill in the run game, lace and boom. Um, yeah, I really love the player that Dylan Tinneman is. I'd love to see him in Houston. I think he's a great fit. And honestly, probably the perfect complement to Kalen Bullock, who's not too bad of a tackler in the run game. But he's not overly physical. He's more of a ball hawk that's going to play coverage for you rather than, fly downhill, be physical in the run game, which I think Dylan Tinneman is. And he kind of embodies that Texan swarm mentality. You can see him in the box here on some cover two, playing that mid read spot. Not playing in the double high, which he did multiple times this year for Oregon, but sometimes they just allowed him to fly around the field and make tackles, which I completely agree with. I think he can do that with Dylan Tinneman if he was to come to Houston, which I really like the fit here. I like the fit here, and I like the fit in Minnesota for Dylan Tinneman. I think he could be a good Harrison Smith replacement, and he's very similar to Harrison Smith, so um, there's that. Really like the fit in Houston. I would really love the selection in the second round if we were able to get him. If we don't get him at 38, it may require a little bit of a trade up to like 42 or something like that to be able to get him. But yeah, I think the Texans should definitely be looking at Dylan Tinneman because I love the player that he is. Moving on to number 6, we got Mr. Tanner Koziel, who I've raved about throughout this draft process, out of Houston. A 6'7", 250-pound tight end who is a great receiving threat for the Cougs this past year. Big tight end, has great ball skills, but lacks as a blocker. Playmaker that lined up 215 times in the slot, totaling 74 receptions, which led all of college football for 727 yards. You can see the overall grades at 78.9 overall. 87.2 receiving grade, 46.0 run block grade. Definitely has work to do as a blocker. Been lining up on the inline tight end a little bit throughout the Senior Bowl. Just made an incredible catch today from Peyton from North Dakota State, threw that ball to lefty to the back of the end zone. Koziel was able to adjust and make the catch. Very, very good receiving threat at the tight end position. One of the best, if not the best, in this draft. Maybe Kenyon Sadiq slightly better, but I really like Koziel's game. Easily top 2, if not number 1, in terms of the receiving threat at the tight end position, which I think the Texans should definitely look at because Dalton Schultz is headed into a contract year next year. It's unclear whether or not you want to re-sign him. I don't think we will, to be honest, unless he has another year of production like he did last year. But good security blanket for Stroud. Doesn't really have the ceiling that I think Koziel can reach in terms of the NFL because Schultz has already reached his peak, in my opinion, and would deteriorate on that next deal you decide to give him. While Koziel will just turn into a better Dalton Schultz, in my opinion. I think they're similar players, but Koziel's a little more athletic and better as a receiver. And I think if you can refine him as a run blocker, then you do have one of the best tight ends, if not the best tight end in this class, especially with his frame. If you can get him to fill out his frame, and be better as a blocker, then I think he'd definitely improve as a player and improve in a lot of teams' draft stock. I think that 5th round grade isn't really fair for him. I think he'll go somewhere in the 3rd. And luckily enough, we have the Giants pick at the top of the 3rd, which I'd love to see be Tanner Koziel, if not the top of the 4th with the Commanders. So there's that. But I think fits well. Would be a replacement to Dalton Schultz and be a good tight end too if we want to go receiving threats in 12 personnel, which we know Nick Caley loves, or even 13 personnel with Brevin Jordan head back next year. I think Cade Stover is going to start to be cleaned out a little bit because I just don't think he's that great of a tight end compared to Jordan and Schultz, but I think Koziel would definitely be up there with those two. So I would love the fit in Houston for Koziel to come here. Roosh out of Stanford too would be another guy that I would really like, which I may touch on in a future video because he's not part of this one. Moving on to number 7, though, we got Mr. Blake Miller out of Clemson, another top 25 player in this draft, in my opinion. Offensive tackle, a or 6'6", 315-pound tackle, not a 600-pound tackle, excuse me. A 6'6", 315-pound tackle who can play true tackle, and played 792 snaps at right tackle for the Tigers this past season. Great pass blocker with very good size, agile, and able to get to his spots, keeping many defenders at bay with his powerful hands. You can see a 76.8 overall grade from PFF, 81.6 pass block grade, 72.4 run block grade. Um, you can see his ability to just stick to you and not get off of you. Once he gets his hands there, you're pretty much done for the rest of the play. If he gets his hands on you, you're pretty much done. You can see they're a little wide to start, but then they narrow in, and Dylan Stewart, which is one of the best edges in college football, was just unable to do anything on this play. Just really want to highlight this play because this is an uber athletic defensive lineman who's going to go top 5 in the draft next year, most likely, with how good he is. Had a little bit of a down year for South Carolina, but I think everyone had a down year for South Carolina. And I think he'll play himself back up into the top 5 with how talented he is. But Blake Miller, another top 25 player in this class, in my opinion. But someone that's definitely falling a little bit in terms of, where I think he should be in comparison to, where the mocks do have him. Played 792 snaps at right tackle, which means that he'd be able to just plug and play right away at right tackle, and you can keep Titus at left guard. Excuse me, I'm starting to get the hiccups. Yeah, you'd be able to play Titus at left guard. You'd be able to play Blake Miller at right tackle. I just love this rep. He did this consistently throughout the season. Got his hands on you, and just doesn't let you move at all. Just keeps you at bay, which is why I said keeping many defenders at bay, because you, once he gets on you, you're not getting off of him. And I just love the player that he is. And I think he'd be perfect for the Texans at right tackle. But I do like Amon Freeling as well. And if we could address guard, I'd rather address guard and move Titus back out to tackle. But the idea of a tackle does not get past me. I really like the idea of it. And I think Blake Miller's great to fill in there. Moving on to number 8, we got our last player. This is the guy with maybe the second to lowest grade out of anyone I talked about today, and this is Keelan Rutledge out of Georgia Tech. A 4th round grade, but I think he'll end up going in the 3rd round. And this is a 6'4", 330-pound guard that is a physical blocker in the pass plus run game. Feels like a Texans defensive player on the offense. The swarm mentality that we have on the defense, it feels like Keelan Rutledge has that swarm on the offense, which I know the Texans are attempting to instill, so maybe that's a pick that we look to get. Physical in the run game. Loves his double teams and loves to just finish on the guys that he's blocking. As I said here, solid frame and very consistent in both the pass and run game. Absolutely killing the Senior Bowl, showing out in front of Popovich and Caserio. Loves to find work if he doesn't have work. If a D tackle's sliding to the center and it's kind of just him on an island, he loves to just go find work wherever he can, especially in the run game. If he gets downfield, he's going to find work on a D tackle, on a linebacker, something like that, and just really drive you back. Uber physical, really great player. Just really love watching his tape. I think, instills that swarm mentality that the Texans defense has on offense, and I'd love to see him here. Especially if you're not planning on bringing Ed Ingram back, but I think you will. I think you'll give Ed Ingram about $10 million a year. I think you'll give Cade Mays about $10 million a year, and then draft a guard and move Titus out to right tackle, which allows you to go get D tackle in the draft in the 1st round if you really want to, if Keelan Rutledge is the guy that you perceive. But overall grades at 76.5, 77.5 pass block grade, and a 77.1 run block grade. Just a really good player, really physical, good hands, good size, and is just gonna run you down at every opportunity he does get. Just a violent offensive lineman, which I love. I love watching guys like that, and Keelan Rutledge is certainly one of them. And it feels like the fan base is starting to be in on Keelan Rutledge after seeing how physical he is in the Senior Bowl. So, yeah, those are the 8 guys that I wanted to talk about today. There's going to be another 8 coming out sometime soon, but I figured it's NFL draft season. It's the Senior Bowl. Let's get some Senior Bowl guys in here. And Keelan Rutledge and Tanner Koziel. And then I guess there'll be some more the next time I do this thread, which will be 9 through 16. So stay tuned for that. It'll be out sometime soon. A lot of Senior Bowl guys are going to be included on that just because I love the idea of the Senior Bowl, the Shrine Bowl. And I love to highlight those guys when they're being talked about a lot. So, yeah, thank you all so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please be sure to like, subscribe. New type of video, but I thought it'd be a fun one just because it incorporates what I talk about on here. If you're intrigued about that, go follow and you'll see everything I talk about. But yeah, again, if you did enjoy this video, please be sure to like, subscribe, and as always, it's Texas Takeover, and I'm out. Thanks again for watching. Peace.